Hello guys, MonkeyBot here. So yeah, I know this video is probably out a little bit late now, but I just wanted to be talking about Battle Cabot and what I feel like he is at the moment, where I feel like he's at. So I just want to be talking about him and a bit about the update which came last week, as it was quite a major update. So we'll start off with the abilities. The photon cannon, I've discovered, does 40 damage per shot with no DR, and there's 6 shots per clip. It does a reasonable amount of damage. 6 times 40 is a 240, so it does a lot of damage per clip. So it actually does a lot more damage than some of the other supports. But then again, the hitbox for the photon cannon is very small, so they're very hard to hit. It does have it has kind of like a sniper zoom, so you can fight from quite a distance away, which I feel like Battle Cabot is. He's a bit of a long range support at the moment, probably the longest range support there is at the moment. But then there's Solar Blast, which is his next ability. Solar Blast has a very quick cooldown of 10 seconds. It does 200 damage. The radius is very small. I would prefer it a little bit bigger, but I suppose that's just skill and practice, and if I was a bit more comfortable with Battle Cabot, which will take time, I feel like it would actually work quite well. Orbital concealment at the moment I find is a little bit buggy. There has been times where I've called the orbital concealment in and it's detonated and people haven't actually been cloaked. It isn't reliable. There are times where it just doesn't work, and even when it does work, I think Poncha mentioned something like this in his video, where poison claws, grounder, all those things that give you poison damage, it shows on the, like, you can see the effects around the hunter when you're cloaked, which counters it completely. And I don't really understand why they have cloak in the game, because obviously I've played back in Legacy Evolve and the cloak was very unreliable, and even when you did get away it was extremely powerful for the hunters, but when you didn't get away you're screwed. So orbital concealment, I think the cloak lasts for about 10 seconds, so it's not as bad as it used to be in Legacy. You definitely want to be using it as early as possible, really, so you want to be using it so everyone has a chance to get into position. I feel like that's the best way to do it. But in pubs, if you cloak someone, they're just going to keep shooting most of the time. They're rarely going to stop shooting and get in position. The projected shield burst is a little weak in my opinion. I wish it shielded a little bit more for how skillful it's required to actually hit the hunter to shield them, because obviously you're going to miss. It's got quite a low cooldown compared to the other supports, but yeah, it still doesn't. It still shields less than the other supports do. But I would feel, as it's a skill shot now rather than a burst, I feel like it should be a little bit stronger to basically give the hunter a little bit of an achievement for being skillful and for getting those shots, rather than, oh, you've worked really hard to get that shield burst hit, but we're not going to give you enough reward for it. So I feel like it needs to be more rewarding per shot, because they are quite difficult to hit. If they could either increase the radius or increase the actual shield burst, how much it actually shields. So Battle Cabot at the moment, I would say, he's reasonably strong. If you can hit every solar blast, every shield burst, and the cloaks were efficient, I would say that he is definitely viable. But if you miss around 2 out of every 5 solar blasts, you're going to start struggling a little bit. Same with the shield. If you miss, in fact the shield burst is even more important. If you miss a shield burst, you're going to struggle. And obviously they're both very skillful shots, and they are going to easily miss if you are not prepared for it. So I feel like for the amount of skill Battle Cabot requires to play, I feel like it needs to be more rewarding for the player and for the team. But at the moment, it's kind of average. It's kind of average reward, but harder to achieve. So I'd say if you could master him, he would definitely be viable. But yeah, you need to be a lot of skill. He's not pub friendly or new player friendly. Um, he's definitely one of those really high skilled players, very really high skilled hunters. In fact, I would say he requires the most skill out of all the hunters in the game now, quite close to Carla, but at least he's a little bit more reliable than Carla. But and a little bit more effective. So that's my thoughts on Battle Cabot. Takes too much skill and not enough reward for that skill. I'll bring a tips and tricks videos within a couple of weeks, maybe, when I get to know him very well and I've kind of close to mastering him. But right now I don't know him well enough. I'm still learning what perks are good with him and how to play him, how to position myself with him. So I'm still kind of learning myself, so I won't be bringing tips and tricks until I know exactly how to play him properly. But yeah, I think Battle Cabot, with a little bit of tweaking, and the orbital concealment is less buggy, maybe a bit more radius, or shield burst, I feel like he'll be a very strong support, and I'm quite excited actually to have a new support, because we haven't had one since, was it Carlo or Tech Hank? I think it might have been Tech Hank, the new one, which was about a year ago now. And obviously Tech Hank isn't a particularly strong support, so we haven't actually had a strong support since Sunny. So I'm actually quite excited to have a new support which could be viable with a few tweaks. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Battle Cabot. I hope you found this interesting, and I'll bring a tutorial video soon. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later. Bye.